Wow, Patrick. 4-0 at the Stadio Olimpico. Roma rout Brighton. De Rossi over De Zerbi. This is not how I expected today was going to go. I thought maybe 1-0, 2-1. What was your scoreline going into this?
Hi, Wayne. I didn't expect 4-0, to be honest with you, and I saw your tweet where you were talking about how it was something that you weren't expecting during the first time, that when we were 2-0, and now I think no one expected the final result. But to be honest, I think it's great. I think it's a great way of wrapping up the week for Roma fans everywhere, and I think it shows that De Rossi is doing a wonderful job for the time he's had the club. I don't know what you thought. I was thinking 2-0 would be a good score for us, and we got double that, so that's great.
Yeah, I'm just looking up really quickly, too. The amount of goals that this team is scoring now under De Rossi. And look, I understand. I know that the level of team that Roma has been facing since Mourinho's departure, it's different because prior and during those last few weeks under Mourinho, like Roma faced some really hard teams. But now the schedule, like when De Rossi started, he got a nice match to come into. Is Verona. It was the flip, actually. It was the restart of the season. It was the second leg for each round. But now that I'm just looking at Roma's last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fixtures, well, the last 5 have all been wins. And in that, Roma has scored 4 goals today, 4 goals against Monza, 3 goals against Torino. That's 8. That's 6, 8 plus 3. That's 11. They tied Feyenoord. That's 12. And they put 3 past Fiorentina. That's 15 goals, an average of 3 per match. Is this... my opinion is that it's De Rossi. Like, I don't want to like overblow it and say, oh, it's just because Dybala is doing this and El Shaarawy's back. But to me, this is, look at the last sequence today. I think it was Cristante's goal, right? The 4th goal. Roma played it completely from the back. Like, this is the opposite of what we thought. We thought De Zerbi was going to come in with his 3-man combinations, and I thought they were going to be all over the pitch. What do you think of that? Like, to me, it's De Rossi.
Definitely. I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I think you rate the Cherry as way as this some sort of magical coach. And I think he's a great coach. Don't get me wrong. And that's why Barcelona is interested in him, and Guardiola has been saying that he would be a good candidate for Barcelona. But I thought De Rossi was going to do a great job. I thought we were going to attack from the get-go, and I think that's definitely the most important thing that you see in this team. You see that we are not afraid, regardless of the team we're playing. If it's Inter, where we played a great first time against Inter, or whatever the team we're playing, the mentality is always to go out and start attacking. And I think De Rossi mentioned this in the press conference before the match. He said, we want to be offensive, we want to play our game, we want to fight and do a great job from the get-go. And I think we saw that today. We saw from the first minute the ball was played, we saw the whole team moving forward and attacking, and that shows the mentality that Rossi has managed to instill in the team. And honestly, it's very important because the players, when I was watching the game, I was saying, you know what, you can see just be me. But when I see players and I see the way they celebrate and the way they interact, even when Lukaku missed that one shot at the start of the game, that the reaction wasn't bad. That you could see that there was a good chemistry between the players and that they were having a fun time while playing. At least that's what I thought. I don't know if you saw that too, or if you agree with me on that. But you can see the mentality and the vibe you get from the players is different, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like the vibe, the mentality as they go out there, they're forward thinking. To me, that was one criticism I had of the previous manager, was when they seemed like the opportunity was there for them to go and take the game by the horns and really start to dominate it, they stepped back. I was like, no, that's not it. You got to keep going forward. You can't step back at the fatal, like the coup de grace. You got to put that fatal blow in. You got to kill these teams off. But today, what you said, forward thinking, they keep going, and it's that press. Lukaku for the second goal feeds off of a mistake by going further and further in. Like, it just seems so much more tailored to how these players, to who they really are, and matching their abilities and what they're good at and what they're not good at, because they weren't good at sitting deep. This wasn't a team that did have Xhaka or, let's say, David Luiz or somebody who could sit. Who was the player that went to Aston Villa? Kamara, right? I think Kamada. He was a pure defensive mid. Like, Roma never had that player. So if you don't have those players, don't play that tactic. It's one thing if you want those players and you're always aiming towards playing that certain way, but the Rossi ball seems to just perfectly fit into who Roma have at the moment. And look, I'm not going to say Dybala being fit hasn't been a blessing, because it has. But man, I mean, I'm reading this quote here, this comment here from Young Dash, and he says, best De Rossi game so far. I can't believe this last week's. And I think compared to, I agree, because the expectations versus reality for me were so different. Like I said, when we started this episode 6 minutes ago, I thought that Roma were maybe 2-1, maybe 2-0 at best, hoping for the win, but we get a dominant 4-0 win. I don't know, man. That's crazy. We got a bunch of people coming in. You're very popular here, Patrick. You're a fan favorite immediately.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I think that the victory helps. The amazing scoreline that we had today helps a lot. But yeah, like you were saying, I think starting off discussing the psychology, the way the players went out and played from the get-go, I think that's something you can't underestimate, and it shows that De Rossi gets the psychology of Roma. That's something that's very important, because maybe if De Rossi was playing for another coaching another team, he wouldn't have the same impact, even if you had the resources, even if you had everything. I think he understands Roma in a way that other coaches don't understand Roma, and he understands the mentality, the pressure, the people. He feeds off the vibe of the stands and of the fans, and I think he's able to channel that to the players, and the players buy it from him, because he's been there. He's been a symbol for the team all those years. He's won the few titles that Roma had before. He's been there. He's won them, and the Coppa Italia and all of that.
Yeah.
And that shows. I think that shows that De Rossi, even if he wasn't the greatest in terms of the CV coming in and his experience, he has a connection with the club that enables him to get the best out of the players and get the best out of the atmosphere. And he can transmit the fighting spirit. I don't know if you remember a long time ago, the way we played with Borini and the knife celebration and everything. That's right. And you could see the passion, and that's the Roma that I think everyone here wants to see. You want to see the passion behind the team. You want to have fun watching the players, and you want to create a good atmosphere. And that's on top of everything that's football related, on top of the sport. I think that the psychology of the game is one of the Rossi's key points as a manager. And I don't know if you can replicate it outside Roma, but I think his trajectory as a player helps a lot to produce the results we're seeing. I don't know. What do you think, Wayne?
It's very true, because you mentioned handling the atmosphere. The ambiente di Roma is particular. Man, it chews managers up and spits them out. Look at Rudy Garcia. He played beautiful football. It was for that first year and a few months after that with Roma. But when you get these guys who just come out of nowhere, they come from Portugal, France, wherever, South Africa, it doesn't matter. It could be anywhere in the world, but it could even be in Italy, to be honest with you. You are someone like De Rossi, and you've handled that since, I don't know, when did De Rossi move from Ostia to Roma? Probably at like 9 or 10 years old. So for his entire life, and the fact of his dad's ties to the club, he's always handled this pressure. He's always handled these annoying media questions, this at times toxic atmosphere. So like you mentioned, this is a different type of manager, specifically tailored to handling not only the on-field stuff, but in Rome, sometimes the off-field stuff is almost just as important. And just from a player management standpoint. And yeah, guys, before we came on, I sent Patrick my string beans and chicken. So
I think before going on, Wayne, you have to explain the a special outfit for today's live stream. I think
I
it's
figured I was
important.
just gonna rock with it. I was like, maybe someone will notice. This is my favorite apron from Sicily. It's a Sicilian horse cart pattern, and I wear it like so. It sounds terrible, but this and my Ajax track jacket, I wear like every day to the point where the threads are coming undone. It's not even a joke. It's like sad, but this is like probably TMI. But
But it adds value to the podcast, definitely, to the live stream, because people are noticing and people are commenting. I
yeah,
think
it's the little things. We
it's
got to have nuances. If
right. Those
gotta,
little things add to the whole podcast experience. You know?
we got to build character.
It matches your Sicilian donkey statue. I don't know what that's about, but people are.
Yeah,
You have a donkey statue, or
yeah. I have a few. I have a few. I have, I think, like 3 or 4 at this point.
and as well as an unhealthy obsession with donkeys, right? Or is
Yeah,
that
it's true. People now you're exposing me.
underrated?
People don't need to know about this.
It's
No,
an underrated animal, right? An underrated creature.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we can talk about De Rossi all day, but the truth is that donkeys were so important to Sicilian and
Donkeys
Southern
and
Italian
seals
agriculture.
are special for you, right? I mean, those are the two key aspects.
It's
So
very true. We have a lot of comments coming in today, Patrick. So proud of our guys. Demir says Angelo's here. Enzo is here. Enzo's always pumping out good content on Twitter. Angelo, I know from Roma Club New York. And Germanicus is right. What I really need is like a Roman gladius in one hand, or you could go like what was his name in Spartacus, the guy who had the double gladiuses at the end.
Danicus, I think. I don't know.
Danicus. Yeah, I think Danicus.
I think
Enzo says
it was
massive win. Already watched the match for a second time. Great stuff. Nice. And oh, look, you're getting love. There you go.
Ciao, Germanicus. How are you doing? I saw your comment last time. You said that it was a great job on the last stream that I was in. So nice to see you here as well.
There you go. My mom's chiming in about the Sicilian donkeys. For Wayne, for Roma. Thank you, Damir. Thank you, Damir. Look, people just they gravitate to you. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think the Ajax thing is not too adequate for the podcast, but I mean for the live stream. I keep saying podcast. It's the live stream.
I actually got the sweater that Aliyah, what's her last name? The new player for Roma Femminile. Aliyah Roma. I'm gonna put it in real quick. That's not it. Anyway, you know.
So it would have been like me putting the Ajax logo behind me or the Ajax stadium behind me. I think it's
Aliyah Pilgrim.
And people are noticing, I think.
You know about Aliyah Pilgrim? She's a big social media star. She's doing very well. She just
I saw the tweet. I saw the tweet that you shared.
Yeah, she's a big deal. So even the Femminile side keeps continuing adding these international players, which is pretty cool. I actually saw Roma Femminile play against Fiorentina, and there were like 3 guys in the crowd just doing like Roma chants and songs in Florence, which is a very cool turf field. I think it's on the south side in Oltrarno in Florence. It was pretty cool though. The girls are really good. They got a bunch of shots off. They play really good football. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Demir says, have you seen in a match against Monza when Monza had a counter, Salik didn't follow that attacker and Roma almost got a goal? I guess scored against us. De Rossi didn't attack him, but praised him instead. Interesting observation there. Talks about just like, I guess, team building and supporting your guys. Demir says, difference between Mourinho and De Rossi, I do believe he told him off the camera as he did a big mistake, but don't tell the world he did a horrible mistake and destroy his morale. And Vincent says he knows Aliyah Pilgrim. Vincent's
on that, I think we're doing a great job there. I think we have one of the best women's team in Italy, and we've been doing a lot of signings there. So I think that's interesting to see that the club is expanding and trying to broaden the base through that strategy, right? But yeah, I don't know if I want to say something about Celik as well. I don't know if we're going to talk about players later on. We were doing the preliminaries right now. But yeah, I thought Celik had an amazing match, right? I don't know what you thought. For him, obviously, I'm not gonna expect him to turn into a world class right back, but I thought it was probably one of the best games he had on for us in this season. What do you think?
I will say that when you bring a defender over, especially a wingback over from France, a wingback in France is more like, let's say in the early 2000s, wide midfielder. Let's say it's a 4-4-2 in attack, right? That guy who plays on the right of that midfield four, he's much more similar to that type of player than a true outside back. And when he's forced to play like an old school right back, the way that he has been, well, that's not how he played. That's not why he was acquired. I'm guessing that's not why Pinto acquired him to play like that, which shows you a little bit of disconnect between sporting director and manager. So today, it's great. It's great because this is a player whose value has sunk. One who was rumored to be going away in the winter, stuck around, and then has a good performance. So it shows you that psychological component of what it means to have a manager who gives you a little oomph and a little belief in you. And let's see if I could share these stats. Go ahead. You can keep going.
Yeah. Well, while you're pulling that up, I think that he knows that he's in a tight spot. He knows he might be sold off or looking to get out of the team. So I thought it was great that he put in the effort today, and you can see he has the fighting spirit that. I mean, I wasn't a big fan, but I think he's better than Christensen. I don't know if you agree there, but I think he offers much more. I think he had some issues going forward. He's more defensive minded, but I think he's trying to add that offensive element to his game to be able to be more like Karsdorp, because Karsdorp is our most offensive type of player on that side of the field, I think. So
for sure,
and I like how Karsdorp plays. I think. Many people were criticizing him because of the fighting that went on that wasn't related to the game and the times he was benched. But I think he's actually a decent player, and I think he can contribute a lot to a team. I don't know what your opinion of him is, but I think he's kind of underrated by some people. I think he offers much more going forward, and that's what De Rossi is looking for. I think we need offensive-minded players on that spot. And Christensen, I don't think it's the type of player that Rossi needs. And I'm glad to see Celik doing that type of thing. Trying to be to keep his defensive strengths, but being able also to play that offensive role further up the pitch. And I was surprised, to be honest with you, because honestly, I never see him attack quite the way he attacked today, and I thought that was a great evolution from him as a player. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I do see Karsdorp as the more true offensive right wing back, right? Because you think of his output, I can't think of any significant defensive contributions Karsdorp has made in, like, let's say, tracking back or some crazy slide tackle. All of my key moments in my head for him have been medium range crosses from obviously the right flank, and he provides that width. And at times, like if we go back to the past era, the crossing was abysmal, but that could be because he wasn't put in the ideal locations. And now that he gets 5 to 10 yards more space, more availability to take more liberty in his space, maybe that's exactly where he needed to be. Some people rate Karsdorp highly. I think he's decent. I think he's decent. He's just somebody who needs a lot of cover. He does have some legs in him. He had that ACL injury. It hasn't been an easy journey for him in red and yellow ever since he came over from Feyenoord. But at the same time, I do think that with him and Celik, they're both valuable players. When it comes summertime, though, as much as we're praising them right now, I got to think that maybe Roma does something a little bit different. Maybe they keep Karsdorp or Celik, one or the other. I don't know if I see both staying, but there's the player from Fiorentina, the Italian international, Michael Kayode, who intrigues me. I think he's 19 years old. This kid shows that he's highly capable at this point. I think he's going to be in the next few years. He's going to be in the Azzurri setup. So I'm not sure that I see both of them staying, but what can I say?
On the left, do you prefer Spinazzola or Angelino, because I thought that Spinazzola did an amazing job today, and would
I
you
almost
like to see Angelino start, or do you think it was the right call to have without
I would
having
like
seen the match just at the beginning?
I'm concerned that Spinazzola, sometimes athletes, when their contract is up for renewal, they tend to have that like last push in themselves in their contract. We see this across all sports. Could we wager that Spinazzola will be a consistent starter, a consistent player under a more attacking setup? Maybe, but I really have to look at the numbers. If I'm the sporting director, I want to know what type of money Spinazzola wants. Does he want his last big contract and goes out to Saudi Arabia? Does he come to Major League Soccer? I don't know, but I would want to see what his condition is and what he
So the
wants
question
before.
is, do you think he can get back to his Euro form, or can't he get back to his Euro form? Whether it's at Roma or elsewhere. I mean, what do you think?
I'm going to
You,
say
you just think
Spinazzola
it's
is
this
31.
final push,
He's
or
30.
is there more there?
I think he's got 2 good years left. Can he get back to that type of player? I hope so. Let me say that. I hope so. Do I think the odds are against him? A player who's 30, who had an ACL tear, who is a very fluid, agile dribbler? That's hard. But I pray for him. I know, I'm I'm a churchgoer, so when I'm in my pew, I'll be praying that he gets back to his best. I'll tell you that. But yeah. So I don't know. That's my answer. Is I hope so.
Did you pray for Roma today before the match, or?
I think I forgot. I think I've been so tired that my wife says she prays for Smalling. Oh,
Yeah,
you
that's
prefer
important.
Smalling? Yeah.
That's important. But yeah,
Anyway,
you were going over the players there on the board.
Paredes plays that first ball into Dybala. His setup closer to the center backs as more of he provides that triangle between Ndika and Mancini, and then he can even move a little bit to overload. Let's say he makes that type of shape with Spinazzola and Pellegrini, or on the right side with Selic and Cristante today. I think he's been really good. I will say that in the first couple months, and it could be the tactic, I was like, Paredes looks somewhat regular, boring. But what I'm seeing now is a player who's really loving his football. How are you feeling about Paredes at this moment, Pat?
Well, you obviously remember last time around I said I wasn't too convinced about Paredes. I think he's done great on the last few games, and I think he has evolved under De Rossi. But I thought he played a great game today. Probably he's one of the highest rated, as far as I've been able to see. He's one of the players that has gotten the highest grades around for
Like a
for
consistently
today's.
high rating.
And he had a very good pass success rate. He didn't make that many mistakes today that I thought of, and he had the initial play with Dybala. I think that partnership is going to be key for us going forward, because they're going to be on the national team, and they're going to also have their Roma time. And I think as we play more games and they continue to grow, that's going to be important, because you can see it. You can see it that they constantly look for each other, and they play passes of each other, and they have that connection there. And I think that's great. And every time the commentators talk about Roma, they say, "Oh, we have 2 world champions on the team," right? And they immediately go to that. And I think Paredes was very important for Argentina on that title. Dybala less so, but because of the coach, right? Because I was hoping to see more of Dybala at the World Cup. I think he got benched a lot, unfortunately. But going forward, he's going to be there, especially as Messi gets older. I think he has that. I don't think he's done. I think the injuries have taken their toll, but I think we're going to see Dybala, hopefully. I mean, I'm knocking on wood here, but because we don't know with the injuries. But I think Dybala and Paredes are going to continue having a great partnership. And I thought Paredes, especially today, played a really good game. I think it's 88% pass accuracy, which is great. So sometimes he makes dumb mistakes passing, but I think he's growing a lot as a player. And I think that's a merit of him. It goes to his own merit, and I think also it's De Rossi, because he has clearly worked with Paredes, and I think De Rossi commented that he had spoken to Paredes and told him what we wanted, and he kind of wants him to do more than he's done traditionally before coming to Roma. He wants him as a deep lane playmaker. He wants him to be more complete. Also on the physical side, because sometimes Paredes was criticized for the physicality of his game, but I think he's doing pretty well. I hope he continues to do well. I don't know. What do you think?
I think he will. I think this is tailor-made for him. But I was thinking of while you were talking, do you think Argentina could have won it with Dybala instead of Messi? The World Cup?
Yeah, that's controversial, Wayne. We're going to... Also, like, this is
I feel like they could have.
This is a Roma stream, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Dybala, honestly, and I criticized a few of the things that the manager from Argentina, the coach, was doing throughout the tournament. I think he was wasted. Dybala in some games, I think he could have created more goals, gotten more assists, but he didn't get as much time. And unfortunately, Messi is always going to start. I mean, if he's fit and he's available, he's always going to start. And that has obviously played a role in Dybala's career as well, because honestly, this has always been going on. You'd be benching Messi to put Dybala, and that sort of thing wasn't going to work out too well. So that has had an impact. I think if they were in contemporary players, I think Dybala would be the regular starter, and he would have done much more for Argentina. But I think, honestly, in the World Cup, Dybala could have been used to a greater extent, and he would have done great. At the end, it benefits us as club fans, because obviously, if he's not used as much in the national team, sometimes that avoids injuries and helps us out. But I would say, honestly, I would hope Roma players are in the national team and play all the minutes possible, because I think that helps them grow and helps them psychologically as well. For example, Endika just won a major title with his national team, and he has come in fired up, ready to go, and I think those experiences help. Even though we lost him for a few weeks, I think overall it was a positive thing. But yeah.
I want to move to I just want to acknowledge some of these comments here.
No, acknowledge away, of course. We're not acknowledging enough, so go ahead.
Demir says he does think that it's not just because of the contract. He says it's De Rossi, and Vincent also mentions it's also Spalletti, and I think that's a good point too, going into another Euro tournament this summer. So
I think it was Spalletti's birthday today, right?
Was it
as well? A shout out, yeah. I think it was.
Well, almost... who likes horses and donkeys and farm life? Spalletti. Yes, he doesn't. He have like a special duck or something. He has a duck.
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm sure if he has donkeys, you are well aware of the small details.
I would know.
You know the names of his donkeys, or no? Not to that extent.
I don't. It's a farm in a random town in Tuscany somewhere. That's all I know. But thanks, Demir, for coming in. Thanks for joining in, putting in these comments. Hi says Brighton are finished. It could be 9-0 on aggregate, and says also Hi makes a good point. Dybala or Messi scored those 2 goals in the final. Argentina wouldn't have won without Messi. Dybala did score.
See, I told you that was controversial there. I mean, we don't know what would have happened with Dybala on the field. Also, I mean, he could have scored 2 goals. We don't know. But yeah,
Rocco is someone who, like you, wanted Mr. Jose out way before it actually happened. And he says, he kind of goes along with you here too, says his way of handling the media is beyond his experience, his impact on the squad. And let's see what Roma look like a year from now. And it's a good point, because a lot of times, like these managers, right, they're given a long-term contract time. Even De Zerbi he walked into a great situation too. Let's not kid ourselves. When he walked into Graham Potter's team, one which was high flying, knew how to move, get up the pitch. They were young, energetic. This was a team which De Zerbi couldn't have picked many better for developing a mid-table team and making something great out of them. So a year from now, does De Rossi have his tactics ironed out? Does Roma continue to add quality players? I have to imagine they do. So I think there's some things to be optimistic for. Like you and I were talking about, like if you had to pick one player, Patrick, and this goes out for everyone too. I just want to focus, and before we sign off in about 10 minutes, I want to just look at some of those.
If 10 minutes is enough, but okay.
If 10 minutes is enough. You got a left back choice or a right back. Let's say you choose just one. Who are you adding to this squad? Out of any wing back, but it can only be one. It can't be Biraghi and I don't know, Bellanova, for instance. It can't be two, just one. Who do you think? Di Lorenzo.
Di Lorenzo. I don't know
Napoli
if you agree
captain.
With that. What?
The Napoli captain.
The Napoli captain, exactly. But you said anyone, and I not the most likely anyone. But yeah, I think there are a lot of right backs that are interesting.
Yeah.
Who would be your dream signing for Roma?
I think that the left wing is in need of a deadly player, a Wilfried Zaha, who's not. I'm just for example. Somebody like when I watch Vinicius, when I watch Trossard, those are two very different players, both who play on the left wing. And either of them, either play style, I think would just help Roma, just that quality. So I think this summer, let's say it's Modesto, whatever DS comes to this team, I think the left wing is actually the most vital or the position most in need. Because right now, El Shaarawy he's a rotational player. El Shaarawy goes out there. He does a job. And I don't know too much about Grimaldo, just the name. But Chiesa, sure, I would love him on the left wing for that type of signing. But who is it, Patrick? Do you agree that it's also the left wing, or do you think there's another area that's super in need?
It's probably the left wing. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think we want a huge major player signing. I think we have a solid team right now in terms of what Roma can afford, obviously. But because of course, if you go for the left wing, you're gonna Zalewski, you're gonna basically ruin his thing. I mean, and you have that player there. I think Roma needs to focus on smart buys that are low cost and are relatively interesting. You know, I think, for example, I told you a while back we should try Colpani from Colpani. I think he's a decent player. He started like the tournament on fire, and he's been going down.
Colpani is good.
I thought Berardi. I always have wanted Berardi on the team. I know that's controversial because a lot of Roma fans don't like Berardi. They don't like how he plays.
His Achilles, right?
What? Sorry.
Didn't he tear? Yeah, he tore his Achilles.
Right. But obviously, if we could have gotten him before, that would have been great. But yeah, Raspadori, I think is interesting as well. Going forward, I don't know what you think about Raspadori.
I don't think Napoli paid a lot of money for him. I don't think they're going to let him go just so easily. But
I don't think Napoli's doing that great. Wayne, I don't know if they're going to be able to fix things. But I think if they continue to slide into mid-table mediocrity, I think there's a chance to shop around there. I don't know if they're going to stick with the coach, if they're going to change. I think it's a crime. And I told you last time, I said, it's a crime that Napoli went from where it was to where the team is now, right? I mean, it's awful. I mean, because they had a really good team, they played great, and it was great for the league as a whole. But yeah, honestly,
I'll tell you who I like though, Grifo, who's still playing out in Germany. I forget his club. Where is Freiburg. Vincenzo Grifo is 30 years old. He's a very talented player, left winger. He can play the simple pass. He has a powerful shot, can play a curler. He's been involved in the Italian national team setup here and there. For me, I would take a look at Vincenzo Grifo. But there's other players out there as well. It's just because my knowledge of ball players, like somebody said Grimaldo. I'm going to look back at the stream real quick. So Morin said Grimaldo, but my knowledge is a bit, Serie A centric. That's why there could be other players out there, players from, I think, like Brighton has an exciting Irish international. He's 19 years old. So if you've got some good scouting, there's some interesting things to be said. And like Rocco says, Zaniolo, no. I don't.
Wouldn't Sule from Juventus be interesting if you could get him?
Yeah, who is Sule?
Yeah,
they would charge us
don't think
100 million euros.
I don't think that's gonna work out. But Orsolini is cool as well. I don't think he's that expensive. I don't know if you've been following Orsolini, but I think he's
a right winger though,
as a rotational piece. Right. Who else, Wayne? Who else?
Barak is a little too withdrawn. He's a fringe player for Fiorentina. Not fringe, but he's a rotational player for Fiorentina. The Sotil at Fiorentina also, I don't think he's good enough. It might take some good scouting. It might have to be like
Gonzalez. You don't like Gonzalez?
He's big money. Nico Gonzalez. Plus, he plays on the right too. Nico Gonzalez.
We're talking dream signings, and he's played a few games.
I know. I'll tell you. I'll give you a name. Albert from Genoa. Sigmundsson. That's a
good choice. That's a good choice.
I think that kid's. Oh, did that just come in from Rocco? Did we say that at the same time? Gundafson?
I think so. I think it was.
Or are we both? Maybe. I don't know. Some of these Icelandic names, forgive me, they confuse me on their pronunciation. But Albert's a sick player. I love how he keeps his socks low sock baller. I mean, he plays like a Brazilian, and he's from Iceland. I don't know how that development happened, but anyway, guys, Rons can beat any European club. I think you mean Roma. Oh, Paul's here. He says even Real Madrid can beat Manchester City. We're that strong. Or okay. Paul, you're optimistic, and I love it. And I feel like maybe you're right, because yesterday we saw Leipzig almost draw level with Real Madrid, which was a pretty even match. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, Patrick. I'm going to go on to the last quote here, but before I do that, I just want to say Real Madrid were kind of like playing like punks yesterday. They were getting way too scrappy, but just for the sake of time purposes, De Rossi said, the players I found here are very talented. We're winning the games that Roma ought to be winning. We're a great squad, and therefore we win. There's nothing special in that. Is that not exactly what you want to hear? I mean, for me, he's right. Roma should win this game. Roma they do have superior players, talent-wise, more experienced. So all around, I would say that he's absolutely correct.
Right. I think we forgot to say that at the start when we were hyping up De Rossi and the team, that honestly, on paper, the players that you have Welbeck and you have Lukaku, and there's a difference there. the players that Roma has are better in paper, at least. And I think they don't have a Dybala type player. They don't have the players that we had. So that's important to recognize going in. But I think Roma's problem has always been, to go to these games thinking, oh, we've already won, and then they get eliminated. So it's nice that regardless of the opponent, we're being respectful and we're being serious about how we want to do things. And I wanted to say, Premier League defenses are really awful. I mean, I don't know what you were thinking during the game, but I was saying, what, this team in Serie A would get owned by
he would
by a lot of players, and it's surprising because the coach has played in Serie A, and the coach has.
But like you said, the defenders, like, they almost don't even seem to cover their outside defender like that. Like the
Lukaku
where
goal was
stripped the left back. Like, how is there no coverage for that player? It's very interesting.
It's crazy, and I think that the Lukaku goal was really a mess up in the defensive line,
Yeah.
To kick the ball that way when you have a striker right next to you and kick it to the inside instead of out of the field, it's crazy. I don't know how an Italian coach can put out the defensive show that we saw today. I know you're a big De Zerbi fan and you think he's amazing, but I think today defensively the show that we had was, I mean, if I was a Brighton fan, that would be disappointing. That would worry me a lot, And against Fulham, I think they also got 3-0 or whatever. They got owned defensively speaking.
Yeah, those goals were very nice by Fulham. But guys, If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like, drop some comments for Patrick
So
too.
before Wayne, last thing, Fiorentina projected score for those people here that want to know, what do you think is going to happen against Fiore? What's your score line and your scorers for Sunday's game? I think it's Sunday.
I'm going 2-0 again, but it could even be 3. It could be 3
No,
at this
but
point.
but you have to sell people the dream. You have to say 4-0 again or 3-0.
I'm not a sensationalist. I wouldn't be a good politician, Patrick.
You were a sensationalist with Mourinho, right? I mean, you were praising the guy left and right. So give the fans some hope for Sunday.
On that note, we'll be watching. Our next game we'll be watching is Totti in the over 35 World Cup. We'll talk more about that on that note. Guys, thank you. Say hello. Say goodbye. Say goodbye.
There's a comment there, Wayne, that you should answer.
Goodbye. I am. Yes, correct. We'll be touching that next episode. The over 35 World Cup. I'm almost eligible to play in. Not that, over 35 rec league. Goodbye, guys.